Assalamu alaikum, I'm Hiba.
And I'm Zaid,
You're listening to Diary of a Matchmaker.
a podcast that will take you into our world as matchmakers.
We'll share our experiences and offer advice for the single Muslim.
So let's dive in.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to another episode.
Assalamu alaikum and Happy New Year.
Yep, new year, new resolutions.
Yeah, we pray
new
inshallah that 2026 is the year you get married, if that's what you want, if that's
Inshallah.
what you aspire for, inshallah.
Yeah, we have a video coming out soon about that.
Yeah.
Things to do in 2026 if you guys want to get married.
Yeah.
And number one, prioritize it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to make that as your number one goal more than anything.
Yeah.
And inshallah, once you put in the effort, Allah opens doors for you.
So yeah, by the way, if you didn't know about our YouTube channel, it's called Get Married with Hiba and Zaid. Go check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. So there is something that I always joke about,
Yeah.
but I think you have a proverb in Arabic that that there is truth beneath joking, right?
فيش دخان من دون نار.
Right. What does that mean?
There's no smoke without fire.
Yeah, which means
Like there's always something.
there's always something
Yeah.
hidden. Right.
मेरे ख्याल है कि दाल में कुछ काला है.
Yes, there's something fishy. Yes. Okay. You don't have to show off your Urdu right now. So the point is that that what I've seen, actually what we've seen as matchmakers, what I've seen in my personal life, is that generally speaking, girls more than guys have a flip switch. Whether you call it a crazy switch, but there's a tendency for people to suddenly change after marriage.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we just came across a story just last week, a guy that signed up with us, previously married. And when we asked him about his first marriage, he said that during the courting phase, everything was going great. They were very compatible, families aligned.
He asked all the right
He
questions.
asked all the right questions. And then after marriage, once she got her visa, it's like she was a different person. And
It's not the first case we come across.
yeah, and we hear stories very similar to this over and over again. And so the question is, what's going on? Where is this coming from? Why are people doing this? Is there a level of deceit happening? Are people just manipulative? Or is there something deeper?
Yeah. And the thing is, some people are afraid to take the step of getting married because they hear about these rare incidences and they assume that this is going to happen to them.
Right. And so just to remind you guys, this is not the norm. If you are single, looking to get married, guys are not crazy, girls are not crazy. Nonetheless, these things do happen. Sometimes. And of course, there are always ways to prevent it by asking the right questions. But inshallah, we want to dive a little deeper as to why this phenomenon is happening. So, are people crazy?
No.
No, of course not. But the point is, as we were researching and preparing for this episode, the point is that these things are happening because of other underlying reasons.
So people don't actually flip.
Right.
People don't change personality overnight. What happens is they reveal something has always been there and it's been hidden either intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
And with the comfortability and the stability of marriage, the mask falls off.
Yeah.
Again, whether intentionally or unintentionally.
Yeah.
And their true self shows.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick example. Sometimes, and I know I'm going to be harping a lot on the girls because I'm a guy.
Don't worry, I'll harp on the guys as well.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
I got your back, girls.
Okay, so for example, girls can sometimes be raised in a very controlling, strict family. They're not allowed to go out as much, strict curfews, things like that. And they become very suppressed.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking about Pride and Prejudice. And then all of a sudden they get a proposal and then marriage is this escape. It's like this sudden burst of freedom. And they have these unrealistic expectations that sometimes come with marriage. Let's take an exaggerated expectation. They've always wanted a Mercedes-Benz, and now all of a sudden they're getting married, and now the husband is expected to provide the Mercedes-Benz.
No, actually, apparently the car that girls want is a G-Wagon.
Yeah, that's a Mercedes.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's a Mercedes-Benz?
Well, it's a Mercedes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what's so special about it.
Well, the way it looks.
It's hideous.
Okay, well, that's what girls want. Girls
Okay,
want.
yeah.
Anyways, so going back to my point, so that's just an example, right? Marriage becomes an escape for a girl who's been suppressed most of her life.
Or another example is the girl's been suppressed, forced to dress a certain way. Maybe she didn't want to wear the hijab and she was forced to. And after marriage, she just unleashes.
Stops wearing it.
Stops wearing it, maybe starts wearing very tight, revealing clothes and stuff. And the husband's not fine with that, of course.
Yeah, because the husband saw one side of her pre-marriage and then post-marriage is like, well, who is this? Right? This isn't the person I married.
On the other hand, some examples about guys who flip. For example, a guy could sound very generous, whether with his words, whether with his money, whether with his time. But then after marriage, he becomes very controlling. Another example, a guy could look like he's so open-minded and so supportive. But then after marriage, he becomes very strict and wants to control every aspect of his wife's life. These do happen.
So can we detect these things during the courting phase?
So there are no guarantees because you can, like, humans are not machines. They're not 100% predictable, right? But there are ways to minimize the risk, but we will get to that.
Generally speaking, there are, I would say, two categories of people. One is the one that I just mentioned. A girl grows up in a very strict conservative environment. Her desires, her needs, dreams, a lot of things are suppressed. And then all of a sudden marriage becomes this means to unleash and let go.
Yeah.
And then in another category, so we can call that first category the suppressed self. And another category is people who are intentional, right? They
come with a plan.
They come with a plan, sometimes manipulative, sometimes, and this is where I think the green card stories fall in, right? We always hear stories of people using marriage to get their green card, their PR card, and then all of a sudden they don't really stay true to the contract of the marriage.
So this is strategic flipping.
Yeah, strategic flipping.
Which is like much more serious. This is a pure deception.
Yeah, and I remember not running into that, but hearing about this situation when I was first trying to get married. A girl, I think it was the girl's sister, that got divorced because the husband used her for a green card.
Wow.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, rightfully so, when girls, like, we try to introduce them to someone who just recently came to the country, they ask, what is his legal status? Does he at least have a permanent residency? Yeah. Because, of course, you don't want to risk it.
Yeah, that is a big question for girls.
So it's a few bad apples ruin it for everyone, unfortunately.
Yeah. And sometimes we have to say no to some people that just came into the country. We get calls like that sometimes. Yeah. Guys that just moved into the country 2 or 3 months ago and now they're looking for a wife. And we say, I'm sorry, like, it's going to be very hard, challenging, very difficult to match you because these are what the expectations are.
Yeah.
So what else can we say about category 2?
That this is haram. This is like a complete haram.
Yeah.
This is deception, premeditated deception.
Yeah.
And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever cheats is not from amongst us. It's not a Muslim.
Yeah. And also to add to that, the Quran refers to marriage as mithaqan ghalidha, which is a strong unbinding knot, right?
Unbinding covenant.
Covenant.
Exactly.
But the metaphor is a knot that cannot be unbound, right?
Yeah.
And and the same term is used when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to the agreement between himself and the prophets, right?
Yeah.
That it's a covenant.
So in today's language, we can say this is someone entering a contract in a bad faith.
Yeah. One thing that I would hear a lot of from extended family, and I feel like you've mentioned this before, which is this attitude towards marriage or the common phrase is, marriage will fix him. Get this guy married and he'll become responsible. Yeah. He'll sober up. He'll become a man. Yeah. Right? I don't know if they say that so much about girls, but this usually gets pinned on guys.
I think so too. Yeah.
So how does that necessarily fit into the flipping subject?
Because whatever the guy is struggling with has always been there. But it's after marriage that, with the comfortability of marriage, that it just becomes like more visible.
Right. So if he was immature and irresponsible before marriage, it's not going to change after marriage.
It's not going to change. Maybe you didn't spot it. Maybe he did a very good job hiding it. Maybe his family did a good job hiding it as well. But if it's there, it will show up after marriage.
For sure.
There's also the sexual repression that we find in our Muslim community. Sexual education is frowned upon. Parents don't have this talk with their teenage children or whatever age is right to discuss the topic of sex and bodies and all of that. It builds up all this repression. So that sexual repression, if you add to it this idealistic image that some people have in their minds about romance after marriage, that could very much result into disappointments or into people look like they're flipping when in fact they were just had very unrealistic expectations about what intimacy looks like, what romance looks like, and you think they're suddenly changed, but they're not.
Right. And I feel like the running theme in all of these problems is just one word.
Parents.
Culture.
Okay.
Culture.
I was going to say parents.
Right. But bigger than that, culture. When culture becomes the dominating force, especially when it comes to marriage, whether it's unrealistic expectations, meher, the drive to get girls married so young when they're not mature or independent, that it just creates so many problems.
Yeah, like if you as a parent really feel that your son or daughter are not ready for marriage at this point, your responsibility is to address that and not just like let them venture on this new chapter when they're not ready. One more thing, when religion and religious language is used to hide immaturity. So, for example, the guy is always hiding behind, leave it to Allah. Allah will provide. Have tawakkul, have sabr. Don't you trust Allah? Like this spiritual manipulation, using them to hide his immaturity, his lack of preparedness, his, lack of emotional availability. So it's important to distinguish and to read these signs. And we're going to provide you with some tools to do that, inshallah.
If you're overwhelmed and burdened and just don't know where to seek help, let us help you. We can be your personal matchmakers. Visit us at halalmatch.ca and book a free call with us.
So when it comes to spotting someone who might have this tendency to flip later, it's not as clear as like red flags to look out for. Someone who has anger issues, for example, or someone who's dishonest. It's not as clear as that. They're more like subtle indicators or subtle predictors. So what are some of those?
So one thing that I was always mindful of when I was searching was this tendency for girls to always agree or just say yes to any question I would ask them. Do you wake up for Fajr? Do you fast? Are you okay with the arts? Do you go to the gym? And that brings me to another episode which we talked about, which is, don't ask yes or no questions.
Oh yeah, how to ask the right questions.
How to ask the right questions.
By the way, that was a really, really good episode, like very practical.
Yeah,
so we
because yes or no questions, yes or no questions are just dead-end conversations. So over agreeableness during courting. So
no opinion of their own.
Right.
Maybe they tried to avoid conflicts.
Yeah. If she doesn't have an opinion of her own, that's like a huge red flag for me. Because I need somebody who can hold like a conversation, demonstrate some level of intellect, disagree with me on some things, bring her points. Like this is what a marriage should be.
Yeah.
You're not just marrying a corpse.
Well, I think some men would disagree with you. Some men, I feel all they want is someone who's agreeable, who's going to be obedient, who's not gonna
a baby factory.
Okay, I wasn't gonna say that, but someone who's not gonna challenge them, right?
Right.
Someone with
you sound like what Arab men sometimes are looking for.
some. Let's not generalize, but this point actually leads to the next one, which is another indicator. Someone who always avoids tough conversations. Yeah. They don't want to talk about the difficult stuff. They try to hide it or say something like, oh, don't worry, it'll be okay. We'll figure it out later. So that's not a good sign because you want to have the tough conversations before the marriage, not after.
Yeah. So if a person is doing that, that they're going to suddenly show a different side of themselves after marriage?
Well, like I said, people are not machines, so you can't 100% predict their behaviors. But to me, that would be a concern. Maybe it would make me stop and think a little bit deeper, ask more questions, investigate a little bit more. Like, I'm not saying that if the person shows any of these signs, then you immediately put an X on them and you conclude that they have bad intentions. But if you notice any of these signs, then it's a reason for you to stop and think again.
For sure.
What is another one? Sorry.
Well, somebody who's always blaming their parents.
Yeah.
For problems, for past circumstances, for any sort of conflict in their life and not taking responsibility.
Yeah, because you know what this shows? This shows if they're blaming their parents so much, this shows that they are suppressed. They have some trauma. And maybe marriage will be their escape.
So in that situation, it kind of seems fair for them to put blame where blame is deserved, though.
Yeah. But then you don't want to be in a situation where because of the suppression they faced, they're using marriage to just become unhinged and escape all their trouble.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So we talked about like why some women flip because of like suppression, but sometimes it's because they never experienced autonomy. They never experienced any type of independence. Maybe they never lived on their own. And we're not saying that if you never lived on your own, then you're not ready for marriage and you can't get married. Not at all. But it's a combination of factors. They never lived on their own. They never had any financial independency. They were never taken seriously as an adult. Their opinions were never taken into account. So they come to marriage not with any bad intention, but they come with the survival mode. They're still figuring out themselves. They come with certain expectations. And then after marriage becomes comfortable and they discover themselves as women, as independent women, it looks like they flip, but they're not flipping. They're just becoming themselves.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is why a lot of the work needs to be done before marriage. Like, this is why we always say your single days are your golden days in terms of self-work, self-improvement, doing the work that needs to be done.
Right, because compatibility doesn't start with the other person, it starts with yourself.
Absolutely, yeah. And on the other hand, some men who looks like they flip, they're not flipping, but they were never brought up to actually understand what responsibility is. They were performing responsibility, but they never actually internalized what responsibility looks like. So after marriage, they are faced with this new reality. You have to support a family. Maybe now you have kids. And it shows up in different ways. They become either too busy at work or they become silent. They withdraw. They just become overwhelmed with this new life. And to the woman, it looks like the man flipped. But to him, it's like, it's completely different. The expectations are completely different. I did not expect this. I did not know that marriage comes with this kind of responsibility.
Premarital training. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
I think we can save so, like, if we were to just summarize this entire topic, it's just premarital training. Just take a premarital training course.
Yeah.
Times have changed so much. Just within the past 6 years. I mean, we just had our anniversary the other day. And we talked about premarital training, I think, in previous episodes. But really, you can assess so much, whether the guy or girl is going to be a flipper, whether the guy's got red flags, whether he's, like, if it's a good premarital training course, granted, you will cover all of these things.
So I would say what's even better than premarital training, which is like a class you attend, is couples counseling for people who are still in the courting phase.
Pre-marriage couples counseling.
Exactly.
I guess,
yeah. Because the therapist will help you learn about yourself and learn about the other person.
I believe Sister Hina Mirza does that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned that in one of the episodes we interviewed her in.
Yeah, she has a compatibility therapy or something.
Compatibility counseling sessions.
Yeah.
So, basically, just like you said, two people that are looking to get married, she goes through the steps to assess whether or not you guys are compatible and helps you along. Yeah. So as a reminder, guys and girls, if somebody is just telling you to praise the Quran and have trust, or if they're telling you have husn al-dhan, which means give them the benefit of the doubt, that is not practical advice, and I would not recommend you guys move forward based on that advice.
Yeah, exactly. So these things are important, the husn al-dhan and istikhara and trust and all of that, but that's after you've done your due diligence. But if someone's telling you just do that,
without doing your due diligence,
exactly, then that's just stupidity, honestly.
Yeah.
So let's talk practical now, okay? what are some actual tools one can take to minimize the risk?
Watch their behavior under stress, not romance. So an example that I can think of is, I remember Sheikh Naveed gave this example once. You take him to a very busy restaurant, right? Now, granted, your parents are aware, there's no khalwa happening, all of those precautions are taken. And you know the place is busy, you know there's going to be a wait time, you know it's going to be a stressful environment.
Maybe slow service.
Or maybe the service is really crappy service. And just observe how he responds.
Whatever stressful situation we're talking about, it can reveal a lot.
Yeah.
But during like when you're being romantic, now we're not talking about the halal and haram aspect.
Yeah.
Like when you're having a nice, good conversation, then it's easy to show you their good side.
Yeah.
So watch out for those stressful situations.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's traffic, there's, an accident on the way.
Yeah. Not to say that person is being fake, because naturally when you're in those situations, you're putting on your best face.
Of course.
You're going to wear your best hat. And
unintentionally, you're going to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the best version you can possibly be of yourself. Another thing to pay attention to is how they talk about former commitments. So let me think of an example. Paying back a loan.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
How they've talked about that, how seriously they've taken that. Following up on, I don't know if they run a service-based business, following up on clients, keeping up their promises, following up on obligations to family, friends, all of those things. Like, how do they talk about that? Do they take it seriously?
And if they don't bring up these topics, you find ways to ask these questions without, of course, making it interrogative with a sense of interrogation or anything. But again, if you go back to our episode, How to Ask the Right Questions, it's one of our first episodes. It will give you great insight and great tools on how to ask questions in a way that will get you real answers, not fake answers. Another good one to pay attention to is noticing how they respond when they're told no. Do they become bitter? Do they become aggressive? Do they become defensive? Or do they find a way to cope with it?
Right. So is there room for disagreement? Is there room for you to agree to disagree and still move on?
The no doesn't necessarily have to come from you. But they faced a situation in their job, or they faced a situation with their family or with a friend, and they were told no. How do they handle that?
Okay.
Yeah. Because during your marriage, you're going to tell them no. They're going to tell you no. Like, you're not going to agree on everything.
Right.
So it's good to get a sense of that before actually tying the knot.
I agree.
Yeah. Remember, compatibility doesn't prevent the flipping, but character transparency does. So we're not just trying to assess compatibility. We're trying to have them be as transparent as they are, and us as well be as transparent as we are about our personality and who we really are.
Yeah, that's a good point you made. Character transparency does. But I'd have to agree and disagree. So sometimes, regardless of all the due diligence you do, regardless of all the questions you ask and the extensive courting you've done, and you've taken the premarital training and you've done X, Y, Z, and you've prayed istikhara, sometimes the person flips it anyways.
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's life. So what do we do in those situations?
First of all, don't feel ashamed or embarrassed. There's nothing to feel ashamed about. Sometimes it's just qadar. Like you said, you've done your due diligence. No need to feel like you're stupid, you've been fooled, and you missed something that was clear, you just missed it. You shouldn't give husn al-dhan to people. No. Some things are just not meant to be. That's important.
I mean, those questions are always going to be lurking in the back of your mind. Like, what if I paid attention to this? What if I asked this question?
Don't start that what if. The Prophet ﷺ said, لو تفتح عمل الشيطان. Saying if will open the doors for shaitan, because then you start doubting yourself, you start doubting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever happened, now we're talking about things to do before marriage, before the flipping happens, or things to do to prevent the flipping from happening. But if like the thing already happened, then you just do ihtisab, you just leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hope to get rewarded from him for this test and trial you just went through.
Right. And also to add to that, we're not saying you just endure. That, if the person is flipped and God forbid, you're suddenly in an abusive situation. We're not saying you endure and you just
have sabr.
That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is pay attention to your circumstances. Everybody's circumstances are unique. And Allah allows for divorce if the circumstances require that. So consult and make a decision that's best for you.
Yeah, a lot of times we hear people say marriage changed him, but marriage doesn't change people. Marriage just revealed what was there, and they were holding together with so much effort. Yeah. So, like you said, if you do your due diligence, take all the necessary steps, and then do tawakkul, leave it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then Allah will never leave you. After you're done listening to this episode, go straight to the description and you will find there a PDF file which we put together with some tools to help you avoid this situation. If you're single, you're talking to someone, things you can actually take as precautions, inshallah.
Right. So practical things you can implement as you're navigating this journey.
Yeah. So inshallah, we hope you benefited from this episode. And I guess
as always, leave a comment. Let us know what you thought, if anything resonated with you. And until next time.
Assalamu alaikum.